Welcome back, my fellow agents. It is I, X7, with the adjectiveless X7 today, because we're going to be talking about Godzilla, King of the Monsters, the 1956 localization. And that's just the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It's like trying to denigrate other movies. But be that as it may, this is the month of this Godzilla's 70th anniversary month. And so we're going to be doing some. I've talked about some Godzilla movies, but never the first one. And this is really kind of the second one, first and a half one, really, right? Because this was the only one we ever saw growing up until, probably the mid 90s when a certain video daikaiju showed up with subtitles, although I had one before that from one Andre up in Canada from Montreal. But I've seen Godzilla King of the Monsters quite a few times, and I recently rewatched it to get prepared for this and was just struck at how, the Gojira or Godzilla from 54 is dire. It's dire and it's dark and somber, and there's precious little light in light entertainment in it. We'll see the one version that everyone talks about. It ran a gazillion special effects. There it goes. It ran 96 minutes. Godzilla King of the Monsters was brought over and released in April of 56, and it runs 80 minutes. So they took out, 15, 16 minutes here and there, mostly of acting. Left all the good stuff, the monster. But it changed it a bit. I don't really need to go into the story too much. I found out about it from this magazine, from Atlas Seaboard Publications, Movie Monsters, of which there were 4. It lasted longer than most of the comic books did. So it was a film book. So it started out and had a lot of the dialogue in it. I didn't think anything of it because I didn't know any better at the time. It was one of my first ever magazines. I think this is from 75. That is some cover, isn't it? The Lon Chaney never looked this gruesome, drooling and everything. If he could have, he would have, I'm sure, because that would have scared the hell out of people in 1921 or 20 or whatever. So I have a DVD version that Konstantin Furman did. So it has the Transworld release on it, which is cool. And then you go right into it. So I've seen this again. It was not my first or second or third Godzilla movie. I would say might have been fourth or fifth. Couldn't tell you anymore. I had just seen some of the 70s movies, at least one of them, and I might have seen Destroy All Monsters. Might have been fifth. We'll never know. So miniatures, just most of these are just pictures, the cool pictures I picked out. But it does go in order. So there's Mr. Steve Martin, as I call him, played by Perry Mason. Played by Raymond Burr, of course, who was always grateful to the character because it made his career. Really, he got fame. Everyone saw this movie. It made $2 million on a budget of 100 million, or 100,000 in English in America here. It was directed, the American parts were directed and edited by Terry Morse, I believe, and of course Toshiro Honda directed them, had some of the music from Akira Fukubi, probably most of it. It was released by Jewel Enterprises over here. They did a really great job editing everyone in here. There's the real Emiko. Here's Steve Martin lighting up a cigarette in a plane. How odd is that to see now? I say that every time it happens, but man, smokes were commonplace back in the 50s and 60s and 70s and into the 80s and kind of 90s. Not so much anymore, which is not a bad thing. There's a real plane, Pan American World Airlines. And there's Tokyo. I just wanted to show that shot because it's just cool. He's at customs declaring whatever he's declaring. Boy, you don't do that anymore, do you? And our first explosion, survivors, And there's Takashi Shimura from Takashi. Sorry, I'm getting his name wrong. How dare me. Takashi Shimura from Seven Samurai. When people would say that these were C or Z or D list movies, and they're talking a movie that's this gentleman was one of the world's greatest movies, Seven Samurai. Here's just they would cut away to shots like this and match everything. They did a really good job. See, there's a lot of those. The storm on Odo Island. We're that far already. Now they're back again, and there he is. This is the humorous moment that everyone talks about, where Dr. Yamane puts his tie back into his coat when he realizes it's not there. It's like the only light moment in the entire movie, either version. Well, although Raymond Burr gets some lighter lines at the beginning and it's a dour movie. It should be dire and somber. Somber is the better word, and it really is. After this, we're doomed. I still wonder why people throw streamers on away when I don't know if they do it anymore, but back then streamers were common if you got on a boat. Odo Island, and there they are. And a trilobite, a three-winged lobe, a three-winged worm. Very successful. Trilobites were just incredibly successful. They from the I can't even say that word, Adabanian stage of the early Cambrian period, 521 million years ago, and slipping into a long decline during Devonian, and they all died out in the mass extinction of the Permian era. So they lived even longer than the dinosaurs, which is pretty impressive. You can find their fossils everywhere. They were so common, and because they just were at the bottom of the ocean, you can find them. I mean, little ones, big ones. So they find it, and it obviously came from the footprint of Godzilla, and Dr. Yamane just picks it up right up with his hands. It's radioactive. Then they say, oh, this is radioactive. It's like, really? And there you go. Our first introduction to...
Up from the depths of the sea on a Godzilla, king of the monsters. It's alive. A gigantic beast, stalking the earth, crushing all before it in a cyclonic cavalcade of electrifying horror.
So here's a painting with his tracks. This is the only time we really see them, aside from when they pick up the trilobite and they realize they're standing in a living creature's tracks. The U.S. version says he's about 400 feet tall, 50 feet. I mean, that's to make it sound bigger. He's 50 meters is what he officially for years, until they thought, oh, he'll look too small against skyscrapers. I swear if you see something that's 150 feet tall, even against an 800-foot skyscraper, you're going to say that thing is gigantic. So I've never understood they have to keep making him bigger and just completely out of touch with humanity. That's obviously one of the complaints they leveled back then.
Raging through the streets on a rampage of total destruction. Godzilla, king of the monsters.
They say that a lot in the trailer. So here Dr. Yamane is presenting his slides about his intermediary creature. This is from the Zallinger, his Origins of Life. That's it's fat Tyrannosaurus, or maybe Plateosaurus there. The obligatory smoking volcano and everything around a swamp. And then here's his intermediary creature, plesiosaurs, pteranodons. And none of them are in the proper time period. There's Godzilla again.
Incredible titan of terror, wiping out a city of 6 million in a holocaust of flame.
So this is presented as a picture, not a drawing. It's clearly a drawing. Maybe they drew it to show it because they didn't take a picture of him. But I've always thought, well, why are they showing it? And here's Emiko and Dr. Sarazawa. She wants to tell him he's breaking up with her, but he shows her the oxygen destroyer. Spoilers, he's got a really nifty TV set there that can pick up things from anywhere, like an explosion. And there's Dr. Yamane saying they shouldn't kill Godzilla, which is a staple of almost all professors of paleontology or whatever. They want to study him and learn about him.
Jet flames cannot destroy him. Bombs cannot kill him. All modern weapons failed. Is this the end of our civilization? Can the scientists of the world find a way to stop this creature? Or
Here's the reason they call it electrifying. They're going to stop Godzilla with hundreds of thousands of volts of electricity. This does not work, but it creates a conundrum later on in the series because in Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster and Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, he's revived by electricity. Go figure. But they never thought that this was going to go any further. Why would they?
the answer, see Godzilla, King of the Monsters. You may wish to deny it, but your eyes tell you it's true. A tale to stun the mind.
So here's this first rampage, just going right through. They're stopping him until he breathes on them. Just great shots. Suit weighed 220 pounds or 110 kilos. It's amazing that Nakajima-san and the other actors even survived because they couldn't hardly move in it. They made them far more, they got better. I mean, they were making stuff up as they were going along here, right? So the accomplishment is amazing. This is the first time he uses his atomic breath that we see. It's a mist here. And then the next shot, of course, it's the animated background and the breath. And that's a trademark, of course. Yes, almost all Japanese monsters have some kind of extra weapon.
More fantastic than any ever written by Jules Verne. More terrifying than any ever shown on the screen. Awesome. Incredible.
Here's a stop motion car or truck, which there's a couple of shots of stop motion in here. And here, this is one of them. I mean, you have to watch it a couple times to notice it, but it's there. Tsuburaya-san loved stop motion. King Kong was a big influence on him, much like his American counterpart, one Mr. Harryhausen. I wonder if they ever met. I wonder if they'd have been able to talk about King Kong. That would be their commonality. That would have been a fun conversation to hear. I mean, and it's just, these pictures are just amazing.
Unbelievable! A story beyond your wildest dreams.
So here's another stop motion and a piece where his tail just flicks around and it's really quick. They're really short, and I think he just did it because he could. And kudos to him.
Dynamic savage action, spectacular thrills. Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
You may wish to deny it. I may have seen this a couple of times. So he's about to attack the tower that Mr. Steve Martin is in. And if he's not, well, excuse him. Yeah, I'm not old. And here, the birds, he's looking at birds. Dinosaurs, birds are dinosaurs, which was used in Godzilla 1984, or 1985 if you want the American localization, to draw him into a volcano, to stop him. I mean, really? So they were forecasting it, right? I think this is probably where it came from. I'm signing off. He's talking to his editor.
Fantastic beyond comprehension. Gripping beyond compare. Astounding beyond belief.
They're not overselling this at all. The trailer is bombastic. I mean, it puts AIP to shame. I mean, it's true, but it pushes over look at these. I mean, that fire in the background and the flood in the foreground. And the jets show up. The people cheer. They're cheering. Woo, woo! They're gonna kill him. They don't, but he flies off. These jet shots here. Some of them were used in close up for Varan, as we discussed earlier. And he goes away. They find Steve. Emiko finds Steve. I think Emiko and Ogata, and he's bandaged up. He's lost an eye, or he's at least, damaged his orbital socket. So he's kind of like Sarazawa now. And him with the kids singing all in a row. Emiko breaks down because she's got to figure out if she's going to rat out her ex-boyfriend or her ex-fiancé.
The mightiest gangster of them all. See God.
So it just cuts off. Sorry, I couldn't get a better one. Couldn't get a better trailer. You'll see it at the end of the show. At the end of the podcast, it is. These underwater shots are pretty nice, although there's not a fish in the foreground or fish in it. They do have some with the guys underwater, but it's just like there's Sarazawa's Ogata's already come up. Sarazawa sees Godzilla and releases the oxygen destroyer, sacrificing himself for the greater good, and so no one, truly the greater good, so no one can use it. Of course, it would come back in 95's Godzilla versus Destroyer. Movie I'm ambivalent about at best, except for the pretty good ending. And there's Godzilla puppet coming up. The puppets were kind of mismatched, but what do you say? Skeleton, which would return in Godzilla vs. X Mechagodzilla, the third try at creating a Mechagodzilla who's impressive as the first one. And now there we go. This is the cool, look at those groovy paisley backgrounds, I suppose. I think everyone's name is spelled properly here. Yeah. Tsuburaya-san. A Toho production presented by Jewel Enterprise. I don't know where these background or where they came from. They were gone forever, but thanks to my friend there, Constantine, he's great at this. He should really have a job in restoration. Here's some extra shots here. Production art. There's a H-bomb monster. I don't even know. I guess that's in Japan. Yeah. So here's just some cool posters. I don't know where that one's from, actually. This is from Britain, because you can see it's adults only. Certificate X, because it's that scary. I just like this. I have no idea where this one's from. Probably Italy. But there's a Stegosaurus with plates going singularly down the back. So how old is that? And here's just a TV ad. No, it's a monster, probably Spain, I would say. Atomico. It looks like it's Spanish. And here's a TV ad with the second co-chiller, Man Beast. This is just beautiful. Once again, it's I want to say from Italy. Oh, look at that. First issue had Godzilla on the cover. That you cannot buy, but it is available thanks to the hard efforts of Bradford Grant. Well, it's on the Internet Archive. You can find. I think if he has it, he might not. Never mind. I didn't. Just rewind. I didn't say that. Here's a lovely little picture, and more ad mats from newspapers. Black and white one. There's Nakajima-san in the lower, just moving the legs. So I'm sure he was happy about that because wouldn't take as much effort. And we're done. So Godzilla King of the Monsters, not my favorite one. It's definitely top 10, but by now they're once again like old friends. But I just was struck at just how somber this movie, and deservedly, it's a wonderful, wonderful. Well, maybe wonderful is not the. It's really well done. I mean, it's amazingly well done. And if it weren't for this U.S. localization, the fandom in this country wouldn't exist. I mean, that and the rest of the movies we got to see on television because most of us were too young to see them in the theaters. I definitely was. Although I have seen this one projected as well as the original from '54. So my fellow agents, just remember you have your fears, which can become reality. And you have Godzilla, which is reality. And with that, this is X7 signing off until our next adventure. And hopefully you've liked, shared, subscribed, and left a comment. Thanks.
Up from the depths of the sea on a Godzilla, King of the Monsters. It's alive. A gigantic beast. Stalking the earth, crushing all before it in a cyclonic cavalcade of electrifying horror, raging through the streets on a rampage of total destruction. Godzilla, King of the Monsters, incredible titan of terror, wiping out a city of 6 million in a holocaust of flame. Jet flames cannot destroy it. Bombs cannot kill it. All modern weapons fail. Is this the end of our civilization? Can the scientists of the world find a way to stop this creature? For the answer, see Godzilla, King of the Monsters. You may wish to deny it, but your eyes tell you it's true. A tale to stun the mind. More fantastic than any ever written by Jules Verne. More terrifying than any ever shown on the screen. Awesome. Incredible. Unbelievable. A story beyond your wildest dreams. Dynamic fun. Savage action. Spectacular thrills. Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Fantastic beyond comprehension. Gripping beyond compare. Astounding beyond belief. The mightiest gangster of them all. See